Today, we're digging into something that's, well, pretty critical for all of us. How do we make sure every single patient is safe when they're in a hospital? We're going to be focusing on the unique challenges and, more importantly, the amazing solutions coming out of the Indian hospital system.
So let's just start with the big question, one that probably affects every one of us at some point. When you or someone you love goes into a hospital, what is it that's really keeping you safe from harm?
Now, you might immediately think, well, it's the skilled doctors and nurses. And look, that's a huge part of it, for sure. But the real key to safety, the thing that makes it all work, is something much, much bigger. It's a robust, interconnected system. So let's break down what that system actually looks like.
All right, so to really get why this system is so critical, we first have to appreciate just how high the stakes are. Let's start with the core challenge itself.
Look, when things go wrong with patient safety, the consequences are severe, and they ripple out everywhere. First and foremost, you've got the human cost, the preventable errors and infections that cause direct harm. That's just devastating. Then there's the financial hit from longer hospital stays and legal risks. And finally, there's the damage to a hospital's reputation, which can be almost impossible to repair once patient trust is gone.
Okay, so how do we even begin to tackle a challenge this big? Well, it's definitely not about just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's about building a solid structure, a real safety framework. Let's dive into what that looks like. You're going to hear these two terms a lot: patient safety and clinical governance. The best way to think about them, they're really just two sides of the same coin. Patient safety, that's the goal. It's the what, preventing harm. Clinical governance, well, that's the system. It's the how, the entire framework of accountability and quality control that makes the goal actually achievable. And you know, this isn't just some abstract idea. In India, this whole framework is formalized by the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, or NABH for short. Think of NABH as providing the official rulebook, a clear and consistent set of standards for hospitals to aim for. So, we've got the framework. Now, how does it all come together in the real world? Let's get practical and look at how you actually build a safer hospital from the ground up. An effective safety system really stands on these 6 essential pillars. It all starts at the top, with leadership and real accountability. Then it's about creating the right culture, a safety culture, not a blame culture. It also relies on practical tools like standardized checklists, on constantly measuring what you're doing so you can learn, and of course, having a well-trained and engaged team. And the final piece, which is so often overlooked, actually involving patients and their families in the process.
Okay, so that's the blueprint, right? Sounds great on paper. But if we know what to do, why do things still go wrong? What are the common tripwires that hospitals run into?
This slide really nails 3 major pitfalls. First, seeing safety as just a project, something you do once and check off a list, instead of making it part of your DNA. Second, thinking technology will solve everything, without focusing on the people actually using it. And the big one, fostering a blame culture. This is so important. If staff are afraid of being punished for making a mistake, they're never going to report it. And if no one reports errors, the hospital can't learn from them. It's a cycle that just has to be broken.
But now for the really encouraging part. This isn't just some dream scenario. It's absolutely achievable. Let's move on and look at some real-world success stories right from India. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? We have hard evidence that when Indian hospitals put systematic programs in place, things as simple as hand hygiene campaigns or what they call infection control bundles, they see huge drops in things like surgical site infections. It just works. So, how do they know it's working? How do they track the success? Well, it comes down to 2 kinds of metrics. You've got lagging indicators like infection rates. Those tell you what already happened. They're like looking in the rearview mirror. But the really smart hospitals, they focus on leading indicators, like how often staff are washing their hands. These measure what's happening right now, which means you can spot a problem and fix it before it hurts someone. So, when you put it all together, what are the key drivers of success? It really boils down to 3 things. First, going for that NABH accreditation. It forces a hospital to get its act together and build a culture of always getting better. Second, running those targeted programs, like for infection control, that we know get results. And third, collaboration. When hospitals work together, sharing what they've learned, everybody gets better faster. Okay, this brings us to our final section. And this is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about action. What are the key steps hospitals can actually take to make a real difference?
Because at the end of the day, understanding all of this is great, but it's only the first step, right? The real point is to turn that knowledge into action.
Here are 3 concrete, high-impact things pretty much any hospital can start doing right away. 1. Implement a simple, proven tool like a checklist. 2. Empower a dedicated committee whose only job is to oversee safety. And 3. Commit to tracking those key metrics, both leading and lagging, and actually using that data to get better. It's a continuous cycle. You know, after we've talked about all these systems, frameworks, and checklists, it really all comes back to one simple thing. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What do you think is the single most important factor in building a patient's trust? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.